Okay, so you want to own a nightclub, velvet rope out front, a line wrapping around the block, 300 people paying $40 just to walk through the door, and that's before anyone's ordered a single drink. You've seen the videos. Bottles coming out with sparklers, a table of 6 spending $8,000 in one night without blinking, a DJ getting paid more in 90 minutes than most people make in a month. It looks like the fastest cash business in America. Here's the problem. You're looking at the one night a week that lies to you the hardest, and it's not even close. A Harvard Business School professor who has spent years studying this exact industry says the average nightclub closes in under 18 months. Not because nobody showed up, because almost none of what you just watched in that video is actually how the money works. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand why a club that grosses $20 million a year can still be dead within 2, and why the ones that survive are running a completely different business than the one on the flyer. Before you buy a single bottle of vodka, you have to answer one question that determines almost everything else. Which state are you in? In places like Wyoming or most of Texas, a liquor license costs somewhere around $1,800 to a few $1,000s, issued directly by the state to anyone who qualifies. In California, New Jersey, and a handful of other quota states, the state only allows a fixed number of licenses to exist at all, tied to population. When demand outstrips that fixed supply, which it always does in a major city, licenses get bought and sold on a secondary market like a taxi medallion. Full liquor license in Los Angeles or San Francisco runs $300,000 to $400,000. In Miami-Dade, $250,000 to $350,000. That's not a fee. In a quota state, the license is basically a second business you have to buy before you're allowed to open the first one. Stack everything else on top: entertainment and cabaret permits, health department approval, fire marshal inspection, music licensing with 3 separate performing rights organizations, and licensing alone across the industry runs anywhere from $12,000 on the cheap end to over $400,000 depending entirely on your zip code.
Now the build out. Renovation alone typically runs $75,000 to $300,000 before you've touched sound or lighting. Sound systems for a real dance floor run $150,000 or more. Lighting rigs, another $100,000. Furniture, VIP booths, bar counters, decor, another $120,000. Premium entertainment equipment and staging can add $200,000 on top of that. Add security deposits, legal review, pre-opening payroll while you train a staff that doesn't yet have a single paying customer, and opening liquor inventory alone can run $80,000 before you've sold your first drink. Most serious financial models for a real nightclub build in a cash reserve of $727,000 just to survive the first 90 days, on top of the build-out itself. All in, a full nightclub build in a major market runs anywhere from $250,000 for something modest to well over $2 million. And the true showcase clubs, the Marquis and the Hakkassans of the world, have cost more than $100 million to build. This is the first trap. People budget for the party. Almost nobody budgets for the 8 months before the party, where the club is a whole draining 6 figures a month and producing 0 revenue. Here's the reframe that changes how you see everything else in this business. A nightclub does not make its money selling music or a vibe or even, really, alcohol by the drink. It makes its money renting proximity. That's what bottle service actually is. A bottle of vodka that costs the club maybe $30 or $40 wholesale gets sold at the table for $400, $600, sometimes over $1,000. That's a markup that can run as high as 1,000%. And in most clubs, bottle service isn't a nice bonus on top of the business. It is the business. Top bottle service staff in major cities take home $200,000 to $400,000 a year, which tells you everything about where the real revenue sits. The customer standing at the bar paying $15 for a vodka soda is not who this business is built around. The 6 people at a reserve table paying $2,000 to sit 20 feet from the DJ booth. That's the entire model. Everyone else in the room, the cover charge crowd, the people at the bar, isn't a lesser version of the same business. They're the scenery. Their job is to make the room feel packed enough and the energy feel real enough that the tables paying real money feel like they got their money's worth. A club at 40% capacity with every table sold is thriving. A club at 90% capacity with every table empty is dying, and from the sidewalk outside, they look exactly the same. Quick pause, because if you're the kind of person who actually wants to understand how businesses like this work underneath the surface, that's exactly what this channel breaks down every single week. Real numbers. Real structural failures. No fluff. Hit subscribe now so the next one lands in your feed, because what happens to this business in year 2 is the part almost nobody survives, and I'm about to show you exactly why. So if the margins are this good, why do most clubs not make it? Because the entire model runs on something that has an expiration date, being the place to be. A nightclub isn't really competing on service or drink quality. It's competing on relevance, and relevance decays fast. The average lifespan researchers point to for this industry is under 18 months before a club either closes or has to completely reinvent itself. The room that was impossible to get into last year is half empty this year, not because anything about the building changed, but because the exact same crowd that made it feel exclusive has already moved on to whatever's next, and the fixed costs don't decay along with the hype. The lease, the 50-plus person staff on a big Saturday night, the insurance, the loan payments on that $100,000 sound system, all of that keeps running at full price. Whether the room is packed with paying tables or just filled with people nursing a single drink for 3 hours. Add in beverage shrinkage from overpouring, theft, and waste, which industry data puts at 20 to 25% of total beverage cost in a badly run room. And you can see how a club that looks fully booked on Instagram is quietly bleeding out behind the bar. This is the same trap that killed Bally's and the same trap that killed Zip's car wash. A business can look completely healthy from the customer side of the velvet rope and still be structurally insolvent on the other side of it. The clubs that actually last for years, not months, run this completely differently, and it comes down to one word: portfolio. Operators like the team behind Marquee and Tao didn't bet everything on one room, staying cool forever. They built multiple venues across multiple cities under one company, so that when New York's room started to cool off, Las Vegas or Miami was heating up to replace it. And the overall business never depended on any single location staying the hottest ticket in town indefinitely. Las Vegas mega clubs operating at this level aren't small businesses either. The top clubs on the Strip regularly gross $15 to $20 million a year. And one club, XS, reportedly grossed $70 million in its first year alone. The version of this business that works isn't the one with the longest line outside. It's the one where the owner understood from day one that they weren't opening a party. They were opening a hospitality company with an expiration date built into the product, and they built the business to survive that expiration anyway. If you want the next breakdown the moment it drops, hit subscribe and go watch the car wash video next. Because the way private equity destroyed a 260 location car wash chain is the exact same mistake playing out in nightlife right now, just with better lighting.